Hi, I'm Mr. Pink, and welcome to another episode of Xenos Alchemist, the Modern Synthesis podcast. This is going to be another one that we pulled from our weekly Creature Conference streams, and in this one, Hydra talks to us about a really cool game that he developed for playing with his young son to introduce him to tabletop wargaming in kind of a safe and fun way, and it's titled Apple Picking 28. Oh, and just a further note that this is taken from two successive episodes of the stream, so there might be a weird break in the middle where he talks about it one way and then another way, but just enjoy.
What I'm cooking up here, folks, here in the stream, you get a little sneak peek. I'm working on a little game called Apple Picking 28, and I'm trying to paint or draw or whatever you want to call it, a rule book,
Amazing.
so people can use it.
Is it going to be aimed specifically at kids?
You can play it. You can extend it. You can turn it into whatever you want.
Yeah.
But what I want to plug here is a German podcast. I know it cuts the audience short a bit because there are a lot of English-speaking folks here, but there's a German podcast called Maga Potato. I know it's a weird name, and they had recently a podcast in which they toppled the topic of playing with kids, and they had like two people there who work with kids.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting to view the whole tabletop thing from a kid's perspective. And
is that what inspired this?
No, not sort of, not really. But I found myself coming back to that and finding things. I heard that and was like, okay, that's an interesting thought, and that's good to know, and that's good to know. But I had no use for it at the moment I heard it.
Yeah.
And when I started working on this, I came back to that podcast in my head and was like, oh yeah, now I need to do this and now I need to do that. Because, for example, at the very beginning, I was like, yeah, I'm just building this and make it very easy. And it's apple picking, and it's who picks the most apples first.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been easy. And my son came to me and said, well, but this is not going to be a competition game, right? Because he's scared of competition at the moment and thrilled by it at the same time.
Yeah.
And he was afraid that I would have a competition game for him where he could lose against whoever he plays. And it was so obvious that the first game you play with a kid, especially if it's a tabletop game, is not a competitive game where you play against each other, but it should be a cooperative game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt so dumb when I realized that I almost made this mistake. And from that on, I was very keen on just listening to what he needed and what he wanted. And that is really funny because, for example, because he toppled my whole idea of this game with his let's make it non-competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So the question before was, what's the goal of the game? And the goal was just to pick apples and whoever picks the most first. And good. And suddenly I needed a new reason for this. Why are they picking apples, and why should it be, a little tension and a little bit exciting? So I came up with a few ideas, and then I turned to him again and asked him, so we're playing this apple picking, why do they pick up apples? And then he made up things why.
Oh, amazing!
That would be plausible for him why they should hurry to pick those apples. And one was because they were hungry birds. And that was really funny because I had thought of that as well, that
like
birds might be a solution.
Yeah.
I was surprised on the one side, on the other side, that he came up with the same idea. And then I realized that he was kind of replaying what we experience in our garden, because we have a little apple tree there. And we had quite a few apples this year, and most of them have been eaten by the birds.
Oh!
and we were mad at the birds for eating our apples, and he basically just repeated that, and that was really funny.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and therefore this is going to be, I don't know, I'm setting up the rough idea here, and I'm going to run this as long as he likes, but I have the core rules worked out, and we played the game twice today, and it was
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. How'd it go?
We finished it. It was pretty cool. Day one we built the models. Day two we painted everything, and today we played.
Awesome.
That was pretty cool, and he had great fun with it, and that was the most important thing, that he enjoyed it. And
was your other son watching you guys play?
in the first turn, yes, but he basically contributed by throwing around the dice.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to add some sort of an aspect, like what you could make with your apples.
Like pies, or like you fashion apple armor?
I was thinking food. But
so, yeah, and that was another realization, was that the end of the game is that the harvester bring in the apples, and a grown up, or at least my grown up mind wanted a what happens then, and a comparability, and okay, and we need to this and we need to that, and he is absolutely happy and challenged by counting the apples we have harvested, and then the game is over for him. And this, what I like about it is that this whole thing challenged my own perception of gaming and tabletop gaming so much, and forces me to think around things, or think things differently than I would have thought before.
Yeah.
Because it would not work with him, because I can either try to force my game upon him, and then I will be very quickly alone with my game, or I, need to try to make it interesting for him, and that's a great challenge and great fun at the same time.
Have you thought about making birds? The hungry birds?
He claimed that he wanted to have hungry birds.
Yeah.
But for now we have played the hungry birds afterwards. So what we did, I'll post about this tomorrow or so on Instagram.
Yeah.
We have made little apples to be actually hung in the trees.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, it's a great joy for him to, sort of turn around the table and be the hungry birds that eat the apples.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's rather cool.
Did you make hungry bird models?
No. They're all made up, sort of.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is I want to explore the maybe at one point when we have played a few games, that different quotation marks weaponry, like different harvesting tools.
Yeah.
For example, give you a better ability, or you can either quicker harvest, or you can harvest more apples, but you cannot, carry so much. There are all kinds of variables that I can toy around with.
Yeah.
And it's still being a non-combat game.
Yep.
And that's pretty cool.
I'm so amazed that you made this with your son and played it with your son.
Yeah, me too. And the most fun thing is that at first I thought I was going to make a thing for him.
Yeah.
And while we're doing this, I realized that first of all, we're doing this together, and that he's learning things at a point where I am, which I did not expect, and where I am servant and someone who's helping along the learning process. And that's a pretty cool experience, because most of the time you are the one standing at the ground and saying, well, don't climb too high or you fall down that tree. And you're
Yeah.
always the party pooper. And here, like, all the little challenges, like he wants to count those things, but he cannot really count by now, um, further than I think 12 or 13 is his maximum.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's eager to count further because he wants to count all the apples.
Oh, good.
Or he's learning the basic structure of a game. So how do I move a model? How do I use a measurement tape? What's a turn sequence?
Yeah.
So at first he didn't understand why he could go twice, or why he just could move that certain distance and not just run up to the tree in one move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So how did you explain that part?
Huh?
How did you explain the part to him that he couldn't move as much as he wanted?
He luckily just accepted that I said, well, the rule is that they can just go this far.
Because I say so.
Yes, sometimes I say so is needed.
Well, you could say to him, like, you can't run all the way from here to your kindergarten. You'll get very tired. You have to take rests in between.
That's good.
Few things from the chat.
Yeah.
Symbio Joe says biomass picking 28.
Nice.
Symbio Joe says birds make everything better.
Put a bird on it.
Jade Finch thinks your educational games for kids fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, makes teaching fun.
Yep, indeed. Oh wait, so my apple picking is just a lame excuse.
A lame excuse? What?
No, that's wrong. The apple picking is something that I can do hobby while doing parenting at the same time.
Smart man.
Adaptation.
Yes.
What's that, Eric?
Adaptation. Make it work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about right. Yeah. That's it. I got so excited by this project that it has taken up, my breaks, my lunch breaks, for example, when the kids give me 20 minutes.
Are you working from home right now?
No, I've been sick at home this week. But there's no downtime with kids. So yeah.
And as we came in, Hydra was just talking about something that I hope he talks about more on this stream, which is the Apple Picking 28 challenge. Do you want to get us started by talking about, like, you mentioned it on last stream, but how's it been going, and how can people participate?
Yeah, well, it's for those who don't know what it is I have made a little game that I'm playing with my son. And it's not about killing each other, but funnily, it is about apple picking. And it's my try to introduce him to tabletop. And therefore, I've built a table, and we built our miniatures together, and we painted them, and yeah. And I was asked by people who were kind of curious about that, and I sat down and more draw than actually wrote a rule book for that. You can download that from my blog. There's a link to that. And yeah, we are so excited about this game that he wants to play it every day, which I count as a success. Yeah.
This is your son that wants to play, who wants to play it every day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He always walks up to me and says, "Yeah, more apple picking, and we are already advancing in our game design. So he wants to have different things now, and it's funny to see that he is almost as much excited about building stuff than he is about playing, which is kind of cool. And yeah, we are. Oh, okay. So what we did was, or what I sort of did was, as so many people were interested in that, and to quotation marks promote our little rule book, I called forth the Apple Picking 28 challenge. So if you want to participate in that challenge, you just have to build an apple picker. So we have two categories. That's fantasy and it's science fiction. So if you want to take part, just build an apple picker and post it under the hashtag. It's Apple Picking 28 Challenge.
Okay.
You can find the rest of the whole thing on my account, or if you look for Apple Picking 28 without the challenge, you can find the rest of my doings, and you can take the little guess who has painted which model, me or my son. Yeah, and it's awesome. And what I absolutely love about this challenge, I kind of thought, I want to show my show my son that I'm not the only nerd out there building little models. He's not, he's not questioning it, so he's not like doubtful or anything. But I want to
Dad,
show
are
him.
you the only nerd on the internet? I mean, you got a lot of He-Man, you paint a lot of little figures, and you say there are other nerds on the internet, but I haven't seen any of them.
He has no understanding of what the internet is. He honestly haven't even understood what TV is.
Oh,
yeah. So he knows that we're using mobiles, and once a week he's allowed to watch a show.
yeah.
And that's basically all his contact points with media for now. Of course, we're reading books over and over and over again, but yeah. So yeah. So I told him when I'm talking about Instagram, I'm always talking about my friends. So my friends are interested in what, and my friends are this, and my friends are that. Yeah, I think that's especially right now, that's very important, since we're all sitting at home.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't see that we have like real social interactions. He came to me yesterday and said, well, you haven't seen your friends in a long time, haven't you? And I said, well, how do you reckon? And he said, you have seen your friends the last time at your birthday. And I was like, yeah, you are right. That was the last time that he saw me seeing my friends. And therefore I thought it would be good to, let him know that I have more friends and that I'm not lonely. And
I'm cool. Trust me, I'm cool.
yeah,
My mom says I'm cool.
Daddy is happy, really.
Yes.
So we talked about apple picking a bit. We talked about the challenge. You can make a fantasy apple picker. You can make a sci-fi apple picker. Well, I just think it's really cool that like a lot of people like get their I don't know. I see on social media that a lot of people seem to try and get their kids into like tabletop. And they're like, here, paint a model. But like the actual game is a little more complicated. So I just think that what you're doing here could be useful to other people who are interested in getting their little people into tabletop in a very simple way.
I hope so.
And it's non-violent, huh? It's non-violent. How's that for a change?
Yep.
Yeah, which is great. Which is funnily the most, or I got the most responses on that topic. So someone wrote me that he wants to play the game with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And and we talked about how to get someone engaged in a game, and I suggested that they just don't just play the game, but also build the things in advance, because for a little game it doesn't have to be complicated. I built the whole thing in 2 afternoons, I think. No, in 3 afternoons, with my son, who has a very short time span to concentrate on a thing. And if it gets boring, he's off very quickly. And so it had to be quick. And it's funny that you, as sophisticated as I would like to be, it's easy to take a step back and do things more easily. I could have, for example, the trees I built. I wanted them to have roots on the ground, so they just don't stuck into the earth. And I thought about modeling them little roots with that modeling clay I have, which would have taken ages to dry. And in the end, I dubbed for hot glue covered in sand, and that just works perfectly. No one cares about that, but it was quick, and he enjoyed that. And so if you want anyone to get engaged into the whole thing, I think it is important to not just play the game, but also paint up the miniature
and build the scenery and stuff like that.
Exactly, because then they see the whole thing, not just this gaming part. Because a game you can lose, but if you've built the miniature your own, or built like a tree or something like that, you can use that over and over again. And I think that gives a high replayability.
Time to smell the roses.
Yeah.
What?
Smell the roses. Take the time to smell the roses.
Smell the roses.
Oh yeah.
Not just hurry from job to job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another key point, I don't know that everyone wants to do this if they're playing it with their girlfriend or whatever, but you invited your son into the game design process, which I think was really cool.
Yeah, that was honestly, that was very
involuntary. Yeah.
Because I thought I had it figured out in the beginning. And I thought, okay, we're going to make this game, and it will be a competition. It won't be about killing anyone. My wife would have killed me, and that would have been the end of the game. So I thought about how we can play together, or play a game, and for what could be the reason for the game.
And lest there be any confusion, your wife is not above killing some fools. I played Frostgrave with her once, and she was ruthless, but I guess she doesn't want her children killing fools.
Yeah, so I thought about I've lost my train of thought here.
Sorry.
But no worries.
You were talking about maybe bringing him into the design process, and you thought you had it all figured out?
So he, on the one side, he's 4 years old, and right now he's all about competition. He wants to be the first up the ladder. He wants to be the first, everywhere. He wants to be the first, even to wash his hands, or be up the stairs or stuff like that. And this I want to be first kid walked up to me and said, "So we are building this. This is fine with me, but this is not going to be a competition game, right?" So he I think if I would have said at that point, we're going to be who picks the apples first, he would have been out. He would have said, you can play your stupid apple game alone, because I'm not playing it, because it would be playing against me. And he knows that he's 4 years old, he's going to lose against me.
Yeah, maybe it's not that he stopped being competitive, it's just that he saw that this was going to be a very challenging thing to win. Washing his hands first, he can do that. Getting up the stairs first, he can do that. But beating you in this game, he barely understands. Not so much.
Yeah. I think that's the point, and that was where I luckily was inspired by a podcast I have heard, and I was at that very moment in the midst of myself for whatever reason, and I did not say, well, roll over his fear and say, yeah, but we're playing who picks the most apples first. Um, but said, well, if you don't want to, we will. I bought some time. To be honest, I said we will see what the game will be all about. We're just building the stuff right now. And then
I reserve
and
the
then
right to force you to play competitively later.
yeah, I thought maybe at that very second, I thought, well, if I build stuff with him, maybe we can play competitively afterwards.
Mhm.
But I gave it some thought, and I was like, well, he apparently is frightened of playing against me. But Cthulhu told me that, or the game, not the person, not the entity, told me that it's great fun to play together. And so I thought, well, we should play together then.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was where he took great influence on the design, and from there on, whenever I had reached dead end, I asked him what would make sense for him,
Mhm.
and therefore, it has become not just my game for him, it has become our game, and that's great
Nice.
experience. Yep. End of
And
story.
so right now the next page, well, you guys are still playing it, but you and your son,
Yeah.
the next page is the apple picking 28 challenge, where people can build their own miniatures and participate, and your son is going to be the judge of the winning miniatures, I think you said.
Yep. Yep.
Didn't you also say
we're
that Gardens of Hecate is going to send you her actual miniature? I think she's going to win because it's going to be right there in front of him, and he's going to be like, well, this one's clearly the best.
Yeah, well, she asked me what was cool to make and what not, like
Mhm.
thematically.
Yep.
And I said, well, of course I'm going to look at the entries before. And I said, well, gore or any, chopped off heads or stuff like that will be nothing I will show him.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, to lean in more into the non-combat aspect, but it can be grim dark, and it can be design, he or can be muted colors. It doesn't have to be bright and colorful. He's not that kind of guy.
Yep.
And yeah, so she asked me about that, and I told her what I thought would be cool for him. And then she said, well, because I want to send you the miniature for you to play with.
Oh,
And
that's
I
really
think
sweet.
that's really amazing. Yeah.
Look at you pimping out your son to get pieces of art from Anna Polanska. What a nice guy.
Exactly.
I
Don't
should
tell anyone.
I should invent having a son too.
You should have it for your
Maybe I can-
dogs. Have a
maybe I
game
can-
with your
maybe-
dogs.
Maybe I can borrow the neighbor's kid.
Just be like,
And I think we shall do some mango picking, huh? Haha, wink, wink.
just do it with your dogs, Marco, and say that it's a special event. You can only participate if you buy Forge World models, and you send them to you directly.
But if I play mouse or rat picking with my dogs, it isn't as cute.
No, probably not. But yeah, that's awesome, Simon. It's such a good idea. It's so cool, and I'm glad that so many people are picking up on it. Like, it seems like it's really exploding.
And I what I really hope for is that some people who are in a similar situation as we are currently, like jumping from one quarantine lockdown situation to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I found it this result was part of a very long and very painful process, because we have been sitting on each other for days, and yeah, that was not very pleasant. And at some point, my wife suggested, what, you should stop whining about sitting here all day long and do what you do. Just do it with your son. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Woman, leave me alone.
Of course you said it like that. Of course.
Of course, yeah. Then I slept on the couch. And then
Anything in the comments about apple picking 28, Flynn? Flynn?
Because you guys, I've got a little bit distracted by it because I was trying to find for my entry, but I found everything.
Oh my God, you've been off apple picking, totally not paying attention to anything.
Happy. Brett Evans has said, my buddy has a 5-year-old, and I told him about apple picking, and he was pretty pumped. So there's been quite a few. Captain Timboli says, guess I'll stop working on my orcs and build an apple picker now.
Yep.
Yes, very good.
Why not make an orc apple picker?
Oh, you can do the
Why
same
not?
thing. This guy is
Because
totally going to be an
it's
apple picker. Like, look at these arms. He's made for apple picking.
I've thought
That's-
about a Tyranid apple picker.
Of course, we all have.
Yeah.
That's our job, right?
So
Yep.
is it the Dactylus or isn't it?
Oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
In my brain, I just misunderstood, and I was like at the flying the harpy thing that would just swoop by and
Take the tree?
harvest the apples with her scything talons.
And I think the Dactylus was never meant to throw the balls. He just took them. It was
He just
totally
ate them.
misunderstood.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh, it's cool to hear that it kind of takes circles already.
Take circles. What do you mean?
That the circle is getting bigger. That people talk about it and share it with others, and they find it useful.
And care about it, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's so endearing. Is the right word, I think. Nick, is it endearing?
Yeah, endearing. Yeah. Endearing. It's like heartwarming. Like,
Yeah, exactly. That's
yeah.
it. Certainly. Because it isn't about killing and about having a story with your own son to just rebrand tabletop games for you too. Awesome.
Yeah, and the great thing is, if he gets better, he already is pretty good at dry brushing. At some point, I just can build the terrain and say, "Here, you paint that."
Make a robot.
Training your own loved one to be your painting slave.
Yes.
Perfect.
Never heard of that before.
What?
There's a question in chat for you about
Yep.
apple pickers from Captain Timboli. Would you consider a chainsaw to fell some trees appropriate?
It's picking, not slaughtering.
Slaughter the tree. That would be a weird apple picking, right? If you saw down the tree to get the apples, it's like lazy picking. But
Well, that's
I wouldn't do that to my tree.
And imagine the child's face, huh?
here.
we
Here.
just cut down the whole forest to get the trees.
I would say, okay, here. I am not an official with the apple picking movement. I am just a commentator. But here's my read on it. If you're going to have a guy with a chainsaw picking apples, you need to model that model to look real lazy. Like super lazy. Like I can't even bother. I'm just going to cut down all the trees. Like he needs to have the chainsaw be sitting on an apple tree with all the apples spilled on the ground, picking one up and eating it.
Chainsaw's still halfway stuck in the tree.
Yeah.
Simon, do they need to be painted?
No, it is for your own entertainment. The price will be maximum that, like the price I have in mind right now. That I will try to convince Lenny to make a drawing for you.
Or it could be an
Ooh.
apple. A good German apple.
A drawing of an apple?
Yeah, maybe.
Or a
that
drawing
as
of a
well.
hungry bird?
Yep.
Hydra.
I think Boskop are the most tasty German apples around.
Boskop, yeah,
Best ones.
they are pretty good. Yeah,
Yep.
and they're very good for if you're allergic.
Oh, really? Interesting. Didn't know that.
Interesting.
Because they are one of the old kinds.
Yeah. They taste like all kinds too. They're pretty sour and not so sweet and very rich.
Yeah, I'm pretty old and I'm sour and not so sweet. And I'm definitely not so rich.
I've got
We
an
know.
I've got an interesting factoid for you guys.
Is it from Bargeist?
No, it's about apples.
Yeah.
So basically, in the Old English language, apple used to be the word that meant fruit. So any fruit like pears or like berries or anything would be called apples. So the French word for potato is pomme de terre, which means apple of the ground.
Oh.
Dear
Yes,
diary,
sir.
dear diary, I learned something today, and from Flynn.
Dear diary, I learned something
Wait,
today, and from French.
From French.
So it's only over the years afterwards that they started to distinguish that apples were apples and like pears are pears, and the word fruit meant all of that, and rather than apple meaning it.
Awesome. And finally, we get to talk about the French.
Question.
It's about time.
And
German
where's that
question.
victim?
What's the German word for orange juice?
Orangensaft.
Once again?
Orangensaft.
I feel like I want to say like I thought in Norwegian or something orange juice was like Apfelsine or something, but maybe that's apple juice. I don't
Apfelsine.
know.
Okay.
Another word for orange in German is Apfelsine.
That's
True.
it.
It's
That's
true.
where
Good
there.
point.
Look, apple. Ding.
Good point.
I knew it was in there somewhere.
Guys, I'm done.
Now that we're all so much smarter.
So I hope you enjoyed that little explanation from Hydra. Again, if you want to find more information about Apple Picking 28, you can look up the hashtag or check out Hydra's Instagram profile at #4 YDRA. That's #4 YDRA. Go check it out. Marco, you snuck in here. You snuck in here while we were flapping our gobs. Welcome, man.
I did. Thank you. Good to hear you.
Good to have you.
Those are
In case you
tears of
missed
joy.
it, we're coming to everyone live today from Rick Priestley's cat carrier.
I missed it.
Well,
Awesome.
now you know.
Well, his wife seemed to be quite the cat person now that you say it.
That time when you were in his basement?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Did I tell you about it?
No, I actually don't know that you told me about that time that you were in Rick Priestley's basement. In fact, I don't know that that's the whole reason that we come to you live from some part of Rick Priestley's house every week.